in town?
Yeah.
You are? And David, you are?
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too.
The pastor said that Rachel Maddow has scared the crap out of him.
Did you see her Friday night? Oh my gosh.
No.
She was amazing.
Was she?
An Emmy win moment.
That's awesome.
Just
I just can't stop looking at Jonathan's shoulders. Like, did we need a wide angle for that? Like, how is that going to fit on the screen?
You're a lesbian, right? You're a lesbian.
51 weeks out of the year. I told you that.
Oh, that's right. Run, Jonathan, run.
It's not this week.
So,
5, 4, 3.
let's have fun.
Yes.
Well, welcome to Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening news. It's time to queer up the news. Tonight, the LGBTQ world is excited to hear the news of a historic first of Pride celebrations at both the North and South Poles. And in the all-animal Friends Big Finish, we watch a Florida man's puppy pulled from the jaws of death. And we are not talking about Donald Trump.
South Florida's gayest man, Richard Gray, and of course we mean representing our Fort Lauderdale gay community, makes the prestigious Out 100 list. And in the Big Finish, watch as a bulldog discovers winter for the first time and tells his human, I want to move to South Florida.
Tonight we show you the most wonderful gay boys representation in new holiday movie. Plus, in the Big Finish, we report giant rats the size of bunnies are mobilizing in New York Central Park. And we're not talking about a Proud Boys rally on their way to the Trump Tower.
So good evening, LGBTQ world. It's 7 p.m. Monday, November 23rd, and we are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. The world's first live daily queer evening news show, Out of the Closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight. Well, thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. This is an unedited live LGBTQ evening news show, so that means whatever happens, you're going to see it. This evening, we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ community from South Florida, America, and across the world. I'm your Queer News Tonight anchor, Al Ferguson. Tonight, let's welcome anchor Faye. What? She's proud, she's out, and of course, you know, I always tease, she's certainly loud.
Just a little.
She's a Latina to be reckoned with, half Puerto Rican, half Colombian, and 100% freaking New Jersey. She's kind of like Michelle Visage. She has the popular blog and YouTube channel, Faye What? Welcome, Faye.
Hola, mi gente. What's up?
Well, I'm sorry, what did you say? I
Don't worry
didn't
about
hit.
it.
All right. Next, let's welcome anchor Jonathan Casanas. He is producer of the Macho Party at Gay A Festival. Well, that sounds like so much fun to me. And a board member of Forward Miami. Welcome, Jonathan.
Oh, any excuse to wear a blazer that cuts the circulation to my arms.
We're going to make you stand up later in the Big Finish. Tonight, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, November 23rd. Let's begin by queering up South Florida. Richard Gray of Greater Fort Lauderdale CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau, has been named to the prestigious Out 100. Watch this.
Last year, we allocated over $1 million to grow LGBT tourism. And on the back of that, this destination welcomed over 1.5 million LGBT travelers from all over the world who spend $1.5 billion, yes, that's B with a billion, dollars in this economy. I mean, it's good for business. Last year, we launched a new campaign. Our campaign at that time was Hello Sunny, and we've had a very, very successful campaign with Hello Sunny for about 6 years. But things ran adrift in Washington, D.C., and we really wanted to promote how diverse and how inclusive and how welcoming Greater Fort Lauderdale is. So we put our heads together and we came up with our new campaign called Greater Together, because Greater Fort Lauderdale is a destination that welcomes everybody, irrespective of the color of your skin, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of who you love or how you choose to identify. And we are greater together. We're smarter together, and we're greater together.
Well, that was an interview that I did for It's Happening Out with Richard in October of 2018. He is one of the travel industry's leading professionals in the entire world in building diversity, equity, and inclusion into destinations. Richard Gray has now been honored as one of the Out 100 honorees, reflecting the 100 most important LGBTQ leaders in America. Richard has been on Happening Out television network shows and is our community's leadership in Fort Lauderdale, the gayest place on planet Earth. Richard Gray's biggest accomplishment this year was supposed to be pulling off the first ever Pride of Americas, a 5-day celebration expected to bring 300,000 visitors from 2 continents and 53 nations to Greater Fort Lauderdale, Florida's beaches, but all of it had to be postponed in the face of a global pandemic. Gray stated, quote, "It is such a pivotal time for travel. However, it's a great opportunity to satisfy this pent-up demand for wanderlust." Gray, who identifies as gay, leads the Greater Fort Lauderdale Convention and Visitors Bureau's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department. He states, quote, "Inclusion means that all individuals are respected, accepted, and valued. Diversity means recognizing and respecting everyone's unique qualities and attributes. Diversity in the business environment is more about the gender, race, and ethnicity alone. It has evolved, and it now includes employees with diverse religious and political beliefs, different socioeconomic backgrounds, sexual orientation, culture, people of size, and people with disabilities," end quote. In helping the Bureau launch the world's first global marketing and mainstream advertising campaign featuring transgender models in 2016, Gray established himself as a visionary in the travel industry. And the Bureau continues to innovate, unveiling ads earlier this year featuring disabled, plus-size, and even older models. The agency's latest campaign, called Celebrate You, is another global first. Gray said, quote, "It is our best campaign to date and underscores Greater Fort Lauderdale's diverse community and welcoming vibe. In this campaign, we include trans, drag, lesbian, gay, non-binary, disabled, straight, and minorities in a very non-resort way. These are locals that live here, and they're not models. It is truly a historic, inclusive, and diverse global campaign," end quote. So therefore, everyone at Queer News Tonight and Happening Out Television Network congratulates Richard Gray on continuing to bring national and international attention to our home here in South Florida.
Guys, in a non-travel year, okay, Gray is so amazing that he still makes the Gay 100, all right? That is how cool he is. And 2, I love the fact that he used local people in his ad, especially representing the trans community, the visibility. We need all of that. So love you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was even incredible that he included disabled individuals. And I'm very sad that Pride Americas didn't happen. It was definitely representative of the Latinx community, and they were really willing to bring people from Central and South America to have a safe place to really combine our efforts, both here in the US and Latin America, to create a beautiful, beautiful Pride Festival. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but it aligns great with our community, especially the Gay Ocho Festival, so it's really sad, but I'm very proud that he attempted what he did.
I first and foremost want to make fun of Richard by using B with a billion, you know, billion with the B, and I could give you like 20 of Richard Gray jokes. But in all seriousness, my background is in tourism, 30-some years in tourism. So many people do not realize that Fort Lauderdale and Broward County is really the world leadership of LGBTQ tourism, and Richard Gray is king of the kingdom. He has led this community to national and international recognition of being the #1 tourist destination on this planet for the LGBTQ traveler. Congratulations in the recognition from Out Magazine and to the selection of Out 100.
Next, let's queer up business. Fortune 500 brands are changing queer representation in advertising. Queer News Tonight has reported throughout the year a change in LGBTQ faces in major media and advertising. But something new is happening. Even as recently as 2019 Stonewall celebration, we noted the huge number of LGBTQ inclusive ads that were aimed at the queer community. But since Stonewall, there has been a change. 2020 has moved LGBTQ themes and characters into broad Fortune 500 commercials and advertising platforms. There's a dramatic change as the ad is not necessarily designed for the LGBTQ community, but rather other broader segments of American society that shows and frankly accepts the LGBTQ is nothing other than, well, like everyone else. The trend is welcome for all of us. We have shown some of the best examples in 2020, especially leading into the holidays while in a pandemic. These include Ritz Crackers campaign, Where There's Love, There's Family. Indeed campaign, I Want a Job Where I Can Be Myself. Pantene's campaign, Family is Beautiful, LGBTQ. And then there is Zalando, Change Never Ends. This is just a sampling of dozens of growing examples. Holiday ads are starting to look a lot more diverse for the LGBTQ community this year, and that's a gift you just can't wrap.
Next, queer entertainment. It's going to be a rainbow holiday as Hallmark launches first LGBTQ Christmas movie. It finally happened this week. After much social media feedback, calls for boycotts, controversy, and more, Hallmark released its first holiday film featuring a central LGBTQ storyline. The film, This Christmas House. Jonathan Bennett and Brad Harder are the film's gay couple. The pair also make history as the first married gay couple on the network. For the plot, Buckley and Bennett play brothers who have returned home for the holidays at the request of their mother in hopes of making a memorable occasion as they prepare to sell the family home. Buckley, playing Mike, finds himself reconnecting with Andy, his high school sweetheart, while Brandon returns with his husband Jake. The pair are awaiting a call about the adoption of their first child, who is played by Harder's real-life son, Kale. Harder is married to Graham, Erichuk, and the pair are currently expecting a second child via surrogacy. The Christmas House premiered Sunday and will run through the holidays. Hallmark, we welcome you to the LGBTQ world.
You know, it's interesting. I've never seen a Hallmark embraced LGBTQ product, so I believe production even has a short piece on the film. If we do, let's watch that.
Family meeting pronto!
Men, got a heck of a task ahead of us.
Christmas waits for no man.
So happy to have you boys home. Mom! I don't remember this being so hard.
Me either. You guys are selling the house?
This has got second chance written all over it. It's just gonna give us so many great memories. And for when we celebrate Christmas with our kids.
Don't miss a star-studded cast in The Christmas House. Only on Hallmark Channel. And now, a sneak peek at The Christmas House.
That's Hallmark. Next, we queer up sports. LGBTQ flag football cancels its February tournament. But why is the softball Hurricane Classic going on this week? Million-dollar sports are problematic in COVID-19 pandemic. Professional sports leagues can live and play in a bubble. But what happens when it is amateur LGBTQ sports leagues? South Florida may be an example with the difficulty being experienced all across America. The South Florida LGBTQ Flag Football League has already canceled its Sunshine Cup held annually here in February due to ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Gary Schrader, the tournament director, said, quote, "With a full local board vote along with contributing committee members, a unanimous 13-0 decision was made to cancel FSC 11 in February 2021. The undertaking of creating a very comprehensive safety plan in this current climate was very challenging, and I am very proud of the work that was put into it. This is not goodbye, but rather a pause until we can safely meet again," end quote. The league had already canceled its fall season. League Commissioner Dominic Grasso said he and the other members of the league were disappointed, but felt it was the right thing to do under the current circumstances. Meanwhile, Organizers of South Florida's LGBTQ softball tournament, the Hurricane Showdown, are moving forward with their tournament this weekend, November 27 to 29, at Mills Pond Park in Fort Lauderdale. More than 60 teams are attending the annual sporting event, and it is expected to draw 750 players from across the country. Las Vegas Sin City Classic, a multi-LGBTQ sporting event weekend, will have an estimated 3,000 players in January. These are examples that can create confusion of what is deemed safe and what is not. One of the main features of LGBTQ amateur sports is meeting, mostly men, from other communities, which leads to socialization. Gathering events like Fire Island's July 4th, the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, and even Donald Trump's campaign events have been shown to be major super spreaders. We are unclear how the same principles do not apply here.
It's all about money, guys. It's all about money. They don't have the money to set up that kind of CDC protocol like they do in the bubble, in the bubble. And more things are going to be canceled and more things are going to be paused if who doesn't stop throwing his temper tantrum and give the information that the Biden team needs. I mean, these are scary times, guys. Scary times.
Yeah, it's true. And this one hurts me because I'm a sports guy, and everybody knows I love a contact sport. But if the Miami Marlins couldn't do it, I mean, what makes you think you're going to do it? The Miami Marlins, a multi-million-dollar organization, infected, I think it was 9 or 10 of their players. I just think this is a little hard to accomplish.
Jonathan, I didn't hear a word you said after I love contact sports. I don't know if that proves I'm gay or not, but I suspect it does. This is really problematic because this is emblematic. Flag Football League here in South Florida makes one decision. The Hurricane Showdown Softball League makes a different decision. It is emblematic of everything that we're facing in our community. Our bars, our restaurants, our Wilton Drive, our South Beaches, our Boys Town in Chicago, it's happening everywhere. I think the interesting thing about the story is it gives you unique examples of different decision making, and it is very important for you individually, LGBTQ America, to make the right decisions that are safe for you. That's what's important.
Definitely. It's time to queer up the USA. Federal court strikes down conversion therapy bans in Florida. A divided federal appeals court on Friday declared unconstitutional 2 South Florida laws that ban therapists from offering conversion therapy to children struggling with their sexual orientation or gender identity. In a 2-1 decision, the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals sided with the 2 therapists who said the laws in the city of Boca Raton and Palm Beach County violated their free speech rights. Circuit Judge Britt Grant said that while enjoining the laws, quote, allows speech that many find concerning, even dangerous, the First Amendment does not allow communities to determine how their neighbors may be counseled about matters of sexual orientation or gender, end quote. Conversion therapy aims to change people's sexual orientation or gender identities. Republican President Donald Trump appointed both judges in Friday's majority. Circuit Judge Barbara Martin, appointed by Democratic President Barack Obama, dissented, citing a compelling interest in protecting children from a, quote, harmful therapeutic practice, end quote.
Next, queer up the world. Pride celebrations were held together on the North and South Poles for the first time. 2 years after Pride officially reached all 7 continents on the globe, the first ever Polar Pride Day was celebrated last week. People working at both poles of the Earth recognized the landmark event simultaneously on November 18th. The announcement was made jointly by the governments of the British Antarctic Territory and the government of South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands, which operate parts of Antarctica where the South Pole is located. Researchers in the Arctic joined in too. The celebrations were part of recognizing the 200th anniversary of the discovery of Antarctica. They also were an extension of the International Day of LGBTQIA+ people in STEM celebrations, which is organized to promote outrepresentation in science fields, such as Arctic research. Their website cites a study reflecting that 1 in 3 U.S. physicists have been urged to stay in the closet to progress in their career, and that half of the gender nonconforming physicists were harassed in their own departments. They also cite evidence that gay and bisexual students are less likely to follow an academic career in STEM due to the stigma. Polar Pride Day helps to combat that. Rainbow flags were flown on both ends of the Earth, and a special pin were created depicting a black penguin for the Antarctic and South Pole territories and a white polar bear for the Arctic region. This announcement is a huge step forward and a visible symbol of inclusion and support for the LGBTQ community.
It's really awesome. Well, that is our queer headlines for today. Next, let's catch up on the LGBTQ news surrounding COVID-19 with our special segment we call Quarantine Quickies. We are reporting today's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases and deaths in both the United States and worldwide. So let's queer up Quarantine Quickies. How a vaccine distribution will work for the LGBTQ community. Watch this.
AAA estimates that about 50 million people will travel for the holiday, but that's only a 10% drop compared to last year. Airlines are still adding flights to their schedules and insist that flying right now is safe, but they underscore that it's a very personal decision, one that passengers here tell me they did not take lightly.
I feel like I have taken enough measures to protect myself and my family.
I understand the risks that I'm taking, but I want to see my family.
Airlines say they're not encouraging people to fly right now, but they're not discouraging them either. United Airlines says it's already seen bookings drop off as coronavirus continues to surge. Even still, the head of the TSA thinks we could break a record of the pandemic that was set back on October 18th when about 1 million people passed through security at America's airports. He says the busiest days will be the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and the Sunday after.
Well, America holds its breath this week with Thanksgiving and pandemic. So here is today's breaking news on coronavirus. First, 83,000 Americans are in ICU or hospital critical care tonight, including an estimated 5,800 LGBTQ Americans, all because of COVID-19. Second, the first needles going into LGBTQ arms will begin on December 11th, according to Pfizer and the vaccine distribution. However, this is still November, and November isn't over, and the U.S. has already seen more new COVID-19 cases than in any month of this entire pandemic. More than 3 million new cases were reported between November 1 and 22nd, and according to data from Johns Hopkins University, it's getting worse. That's about a quarter of all U.S. cases since the beginning of this pandemic, just in 22 days. Yes, testing has increased, but it hasn't kept pace with the new rate of new infections. As of late last week, the number of daily cases increased 25% compared to the previous week, while testing only increased 14%, according to Johns Hopkins and the COVID Tracking Project. 44 states are dramatically rising in COVID-19 cases. This is critical because every surge in new cases leads to more hospitalizations and deaths in the following weeks. Hospitals are getting overwhelmed. Once again, the U.S. smashed its record for people hospitalized with COVID-19, putting enormous strain on our healthcare system and threatening to reduce care for even those who don't have coronavirus but need hospitalization. COVID-19 has killed more than 260,000 people in the U.S., and that is 10 times the death rate from car crashes. In this year, health experts say new infections, hospitalizations, and deaths will get worse before they get better, as the upcoming holidays and colder weather trigger more indoor socialization. For the LGBTQ community, the so-called pandemic fatigue pales in comparison to the risk of growing death and community business lockdown. Wear a mask.
You know, I get the COVID fatigue. We all feel the COVID fatigue, but mind blown, guys. CDC tells us to stay home and only 10% of people listen. Like, that is incredible. That is bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-S. I mean, what the hell? It's crazy. People are dying right now. People are being intubated. People are just dying alone. Do you understand that? Like, how many people have to die before we really take this seriously? Wear a mask, wash your hands and wash your ass.
Yeah, please do that. I think you're so right. What else is there to say? I think the only way that people are going to recognize that it's serious is when their family starts to die. I mean, we've had a death in our community, Juan Saco, may he rest in peace, that really hit near to my heart, and I was already taking it serious. So I don't know what else it's going to take for us. It's become this, political propaganda chewing of both sides of the world, and I'm just really sick of it. And I think we just need to keep our masks on.
You know, Faye, the spelling out of the B-A-N, can you do that for me?
Yeah, please.
Is that what you got from my whole thing?
No, just one more
That's
time.
all I heard.
B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
Yeah, see, I wrote that down. That sounds like great music lyrics to me. I'm thinking about writing some music after the show.
Yeah?
You know, both of you, of course, get it right on the head. The good thing, besides wearing a mask, washing whatever it was that Faye was talking about washing, the good thing is December 11th, needles go into LGBTQ arms. The vaccine is going to begin. I read reports that as many as 20 million are going to be vaccinated between December 11th and at the end of the year, and the target is 30 million a month starting in January. That is going to have a pendulum effect. Hold on, be safe, hold on. A cure via vaccine is coming. Next up is a discussion that we want to have tonight about LGBTQ events. Happening Out Television Network is the digital television sponsor of some of the most important LGBTQ charities and events in America. Tonight we bring your attention to the Outshine LGBTQ Film Festival, Fort Lauderdale Virtual Edition. It's happening December 3rd to the 6th. Watch this.
This December, Outshine Film Festival's Fort Lauderdale Virtual Edition, featuring queer films from all over the world. Presenting 18 feature films and 3 short programs, plus a drive-in movie night at Pier 66. Watch the best LGBTQ plus films from home.
We'll talk over it in case there is.
Tickets are on sale now. Check out the program at outshinefilm.com.
In the coming weeks, we are going to give you details of one of the most important film festivals, LGBTQ film festivals in the world, which will showcase 21 world-class films from 11 countries, with several making their U.S. debut. Along with Queer News Tonight, the festival is presented by Gilead Sciences and Broward County. And tonight we are happy to welcome the director and writer of the 10th anniversary film, Bear City. Set in a New York gay bear scene and taking a cue from the popular HBO franchise Sex in the City, Bear City follows a tight-knit pack of friends experiencing comical mishaps, emotionally sweet yet lusty romantic encounters. Bears are always fun, they're always fun, and a cast of colorful, diverse characters as they gear up for the big party weekend. Please welcome to Queer News Tonight's director and writer, Doug Langway. Good evening, Doug.
How you guys doing?
Great. Now, Doug, you're in social isolation. I understand you haven't come out of your bear cave in like 14 months. So why did you have your mask on?
Well, just to be responsible, we do want to make sure. And after all those numbers you said, the bear community's hit pretty hard with it because we're all diabetic and fat. So it's like, we got to watch ourselves. The mask on, I'm wearing.
Doug, you're not. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm actually outside, but you can't tell because it's all gone. I was saying that I made this film to represent the bigger, hairier human being, the art form that I love, the beauty of a big man. I want to share that with the world. Much like Etta wanted to share 10 inches of rainwater in my living room. So that's why I'm now out here and not in there.
Yeah. And now where are you tonight? You're outside, but where?
I'm literally outside my house. We literally had to gut the entire house as a Floridian.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't quite as interested in your house as in what city you are broadcasting from right now.
Wilton Manors.
You were in Wilton Manors. Oh, okay. And so you're literally right down the street from us. So we see, America, we are practicing our social isolation because we literally could be sitting across from each other right now, but we would rather use digital technology. Doug, I have to ask you about the movie. I saw the movie when it first debuted in 1876.
What?
And
what?
And you look exactly the same, as hairy as ever. And I think it is fantastic that one of the most important LGBT film festivals in the country does a nod to the history of a film that came out 10 years ago to bring new attention. Because the vast majority of our Gen Z millennials have no idea what this film is about. So tell us a little bit about the film itself and why it's still relevant and exciting to see to a whole new young cub generation.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think that I made the movie basically about me, like 300 pounds lighter. But when you were a kid and 17 and you realize everyone's liking a certain type of guy in a Brad Pitt, and I'm like, why am I digging Santa Claus? What's going on here? Why am I liking the bigger, older dudes? And a lot of people grapple with that, and they're like, well, now I'm gay. I've actually come out of the closet twice. So I think that that's always an experience. First you have to say you're gay, and then you have to say you like big, fat, hairy dudes. So I feel like that's always going to be relevant for these people. But at the time, there weren't a lot of images of bears, and there was no American film made, and I was like, it was relevant, as relevant then as it is now for our exposure. And I ended up making 2 more movies after that, and also premiering at the festival, Bear City 2 and 3, which 3 was in 2016. So there's a trilogy of films that they can get behind and watch, and
Doug, I want to ask, in addition to the relevance for a new audience that is not familiar with what you did starting 10 years ago, over the course of the 10 years when you debuted the film in 2010, has the bear community gotten tighter, better, more accepted? What's happened over the last 10 years? What are the differences, positive or negative, today versus 2010 when you first did this?
Are they hairier?
Are they hairier? Yeah, well, Doug is definitely hairier.
Definitely hairier. So they, well, I would say that it definitely blew up, and myself, as well as a lot of other people, magazines, and there's a Bears Life magazine, all these things came out to expose us. And then there were people and actors on shows that would throw nods to it. And then it kind of blew up. And you started seeing more people with hair on their face, more muscle bears, more people that were riding the fine line of it being size acceptance and body positive, and then also just being really ripped with big hairiness and machismo-ness of the bear community.
Are these changes good or not good?
Yes, I think they're good. I think it was good to have the exposure, because then it challenged us to say, to redefine what is a bear, what is a cub, what is a polar bear, who are we? And the concept that the baseline was acceptance, because that's what we didn't have in the beginning. We'd be the guy in the corner of the white party wearing black, so slimming, so it was better to be able to have a place to go, and that was sort of the idea of the Bears. But you still definitely have a lot of pride in what you look like, and they do have a lot of pride in that, as well as how they behave. But it was most important to be able to have a safe space to celebrate an alternative form of beauty.
Doug, I would imagine that you've participated in many LGBTQ film festivals over the last decade. I'm curious, you're lucky in your backyard, Outshine Film Festival being one of the best in the country, really in the world, one of the best. What's it like to participate in a digital fashion and participate in a film festival that's really very different than what you have done in the last 10 years?
I think it's actually really cutting edge what they're doing. I saw what they did with Miami, and I was really excited. And Joe called and said, I'd really like to present your film because of its relevance, especially down here, especially with the other 2 movies. But I have not done this yet, so this is all sort of new to me. We're doing a Zoom event on Saturday the 7th at 5 o'clock with all the actors. You know, James Martinez from Love, Simon, and all the actors are going to be there. Steve Marino, Ken, they're all going to be there for the first time, kind of on a Zoom event, just yapping about the movie and probably oversharing. Just don't believe a word. But you know, it should be a fun event.
I think it is so interesting to me, and I thought about this in the Miami Festival. We were digital television sponsor in August for Outshine's Miami version of the first ever digital LGBT festival for them. I think it's interesting that if you were doing a screening of Bear City in 2010, and it's warmly received, and there's 300 people in the audience. And now in a digital LGBTQ film festival that is promoted everywhere, there can be dramatically more people that are affected, watch it, get to interact in it, get to engage with people like you. I'm not exactly sure why people would want to interact with you, but let's assume for a second that's a good thing. They get so much more depth in terms of having you be able to reach out to them and participate. I think the digital platform, of course, COVID is the year, we didn't expect it, but there are so many positive things that have come from it for LGBT film and like your platform. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think a big part of that too is trying to reach, like with film festivals, trying to reach in places where I know the bears exist that can't really say it. You know, in the Middle East, and we get a lot of stuff like that, and people that are borderline suicidal because they can't. And I've gotten a lot of suicide letters that were, hey, I saw your movie, I stole it on the internet, whatever, and I was able to see it, and it really saved my life because I really thought I was the only person in the world that liked guys like this. So to be able to reach those people in a digital realm with a prestigious film festival like this and have people be able to see it all over the world is important because I know that will save lives. I know that will save someone. And it makes me very happy to have done that.
Yeah. Well, Doug, we are just thrilled that you're with us at Q News tonight. A big supporter. I'm a big supporter in the bear community. I've lost 300 pounds. And have been to Sawmill many times. You've probably been to Sawmill many.
I want to see the before pictures.
Yeah, it's
Wait
true.
a minute, wait a minute.
Stop flirting with me, Doug. Stop flirting with me. I don't have enough hair. No. America, we encourage you, of course, South Florida and Florida. The Outshine Film Festival is getting ready to start. 21 films, many complete premieres in the United States. Doug's film and films, 3 films, are not premieres, but they might as well be because many did not know of Bear City in 2010 in the community. Yeah. So it works like fresh content all over again to introduce. And that's the value of this amazing film festival. It's going to take place December 3rd to 6th. Any final words, Doug, that you would like to say before I let you go?
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the forum and you guys are good to listen to, especially her.
Yeah, right.
And I really appreciate the time and I really appreciate the festival and, you know, being a Floridian, I really say pay your flood insurance. Seriously.
That's that's absolutely true. The Outshine Film Festival, it's getting ready to start wherever you are. I completely agree with Doug. If you're sitting in places like Lakeland or Apopka, Florida, you might not feel as comfortable as Doug does sitting on Wilton Drive. So this is a perfect way for you to be introduced to the bear community. LGBTQ film is going to introduce you to so many different ideas. Tune in December 3rd through 6th, and you get all of this fantastic content in Q&As and panels where you get to meet the directors and the writers like Doug Langway for Bear City. Doug, thank you for being with Q News tonight.
Thank you guys so much. Check out bearcity.com.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Q News tonight in our next segment is proud to be hosting our weekly LGBTQ Money Talks. Now, how cool is it that we moved from Bear City in 2010 in a film festival to telling you what you should be thinking about on your LGBTQ money? That's Queer News Tonight.
Woof.
Our our weekly LGBTQ Money Talks with financial advisor David Treese is up next. With 30 years of experience, David works as a fee-based investment advisor representative for Cetera Advisors and is an accredited investment fiduciary. He is a professional financial planner and has been featured in the Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, PBS's Nightly Business Report, the Washington Post, and the NBC6 Emmy Award-winning series about his work. David has talked about all kinds of financial things and is, of course, a member of the LGBTQ community. David, welcome to the show tonight. We're happy to have you with us.
Great to be here again.
And we made the joke last week because of Kornacki making People magazine. We moved from the Bears to adorkable.
Adorkable.
Yes. Adorkable. Faye and I have said that word about 100 times. So welcome, David. Let's jump right into tonight's viewer questions on finance.
Let's do this. The first viewer question, David. Are government bond funds a safe investment right now? And what's a government bond fund, by the way?
This gets to show all my geekiness from bears to geeks. So it's perfect. It's a great setup here. Diversity. That's a great question, and in fact, it gives me a lot of ways to do a little education on all sorts of other topics here too. So government bond funds, that's the key thing. It's a mutual fund. Like you have stock mutual funds, you have bond mutual funds. So the question about safety may go to the value. So all of these will trade in the market. So mutual funds close at 4 o'clock when the market closes, and then they get valued. So is it safe? Well, it will go up or down in value. So that's the answer to that question if you're talking about a government bond fund. Now, if you're talking about a government bond itself, if you hold it to maturity, you're probably thinking about default risk. Is there a risk that the government won't pay you? We generally consider the US government to be risk-free of default. But then there are other risks. So this is the lesson. If you have a long-term government bond, like 10 years or longer, you may have liquidity risk, that you can't sell it for its full worth until it matures. You could have inflation risk, that maybe it's paying 1.5%, and if inflation goes up to 3%, then you're actually going backwards in it. Or it could be, the biggest one is interest rate risk, where we have super low interest rates right now. So if interest rates go up, the value of your bond will likely go down.
David, I'm curious, in general, do you recommend in the for LGBTQ consumers, and assuming that there's uniqueness for LGBT advisory information financial, do you generally recommend bond funds or mutual funds? Do you have a preference?
A mix, because the mutual funds can be stocks or bonds, so you can diversify that way and have some risk control, because the bond funds tend to be less volatile. They don't go up as much or as down as much typically. So for the LGBT community, there's often a concern about safety, and I greatly appreciate that. I never try to talk somebody into taking on more risk than they're comfortable with. Often for LGBT people, there's an issue of self-reliance. It may be that they're single, that they don't have anybody else who's going to step in and help them. So more independence and more risk averse. I absolutely see that.
All right, let's move on.
Thanks, David. I almost understood that. It's nothing to do with you and all to do with me. But here's question number 2 from the viewers. Are there any investments I should steer clear of during these politically unstable times?
Anything involving a Nigerian prince is probably that. I've actually
David Treese told a joke. Wow.
How adorkable.
And it wasn't a math joke. See, that's when I knew I was going to marry my husband, when he smiled and nodded politely at my math joke. So really with the investments, whenever there are hard times, there are political instability, economic uncertainty, we don't want you to make emotional decisions, and there are fraudsters out there. I was making a joke about the Nigerian prince, but there are people who will prey on your emotions. Yeah. So if you've got problems, there are people who come up with quote unquote solutions. So always be very, very careful of your investments, double check things, do background checking, whatever. We give second opinions on things, and they get more and more creative. Another thing,
I'm sorry, go ahead, David.
I was going to say another thing we see in difficult times are this herd mentality. Everybody wants to buy like the pharmaceutical stock. They want to buy Bitcoin or cannabis stocks or things like that.
Clorox.
Yeah, Clorox chewables, the good old days. You have to be careful about that herd mentality, and are you jumping on something that's already gone way up? And so you have to really do your homework.
Yeah, I didn't do so well in my hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, I didn't do so well in that.
That's because you couldn't say it.
Yeah, right.
The geeks know.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you.
Yes.
Let's move into another viewer question.
Okay, this is a good one. The housing market is behaving oddly. Is it a good time to refinance my home?
Yeah, again, it's a great question, and also to note that the housing market has been one of the bright spots. So in that sense, it has been behaving oddly. We've had super low interest rates, and then because of COVID-19, people are staying at home and they're interested in better living conditions. And so if you own a property, it's been a great time. We see a lot of startups, single-family homes, so it's been very positive. But it's a personal question as to whether or not refinancing is right for you, because it depends on your current interest rate. Are you going to be in the house for a long period of time? All of those factors. And why are you refinancing? Is it just to get a lower interest rate, or are you trying to take cash out of your house, pay off other debts? If you're just going to get into debt again, it might not be the right thing to do. So, and then another concern we have is, even though right now the housing market has been great, part of it has been artificial because we've had a moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. And so we do wonder if that goes away, if next year we're not going to see a little bit of a bubble. So be careful about that.
David, I'm curious, is there kind of a rule of thumb, just broad guess, a rule of thumb, that if you bought your house and your mortgage was financed 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that the difference in the general interest rates 5 years ago or 10 years ago, that today the interest rates are just so attractive, you should automatically be looking at refinance? Is there a date associated with looking at refinance, or is there not?
It wouldn't necessarily be a date. It would be, though, a difference in the interest rates. Let's say that there's a 2% difference in the interest rates. You have to look at the actual cost of the closing costs and try to factor that in, and how many years will it take you to pay off the difference in the closing cost from what you would save in the lower interest rate. So if you're going to be in the house that long, it could be a very good thing to do. So that's a calculation, pretty much.
Interesting. Housing value also seems to be just skyrocketing. I read anecdotally that people are competing on house sales, and so I guess they're competing in every possible way, and
that varies from market to market, though, because you have bubble markets where the prices get really driven way up, like has happened in California and Silicon Valley. South Florida has often been a bubble market, and other places the housing is very affordable, and so it depends, again, locally on what the market's doing.
Here's the thing, and I know many people are thinking this right now, David. I need my financial planner to be able to help me figure out a way to live in South Florida and pay Omaha, Nebraska prices.
Yes.
Can you help us do that? That would be really good.
It's so funny you mention this, that people want to be here, but these desirable places are more expensive.
Yeah.
And here we also have the hurricane risk. So I have a lot of people, when they retire, they are, unfortunately for us, looking to get out of South Florida to someplace more affordable, less traffic, not the hurricane issue. So we try to plan for that.
Yeah, I hear there's a place called the Villages. No, I don't want to go there. No.
Fight
All
the
right.
good fight.
Right, exactly. All right, well, that's part 13 of the LGBTQ Money Talks for the LGBTQ community. Every Monday night, we bring you viewer questions about finance and the economy and ask our professionals to weigh in so that you can be more confident with what you're doing with your money. And as always, we thank our adorable David Treese for being with us tonight. Thank you, David.
Not too geeky, I hope.
No, not at all. And besides, it can get you into People magazine. Next, we report that Happening on Television Network helps support our LGBTQ community. An example is Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. We are broadcasting from our permanent set in supporting that partnership. The network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the world, with more than 30,000 watching every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's totally live. We encourage you to tune in. Our campaign of sponsorship proudly supports Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
Hi, I'm Robert Griffin, the Executive Minister here at the Sunshine Cathedral. And the Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Oh, sorry, Faye.
Why you gotta step on me?
I don't know why I do that.
My boobs always get in the way. But we'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible. Finally,
we thank Queer News Tonight's hotel sponsor, Best Western I-95 Fort Lauderdale. This is the closest and best choice to the famous Wilton Drive, and our hosts and guests stay at this LGBTQ allied partner. We encourage you to stay here when visiting South Florida.
I'm scared. Can I speak again?
Go for it. Sorry about that.
Okay, I can speak again. All right, we're going to end tonight's broadcast with the big finish. These are today's silly or news that entertains, we think entertains the LGBTQ community. Tonight's big finish is a Thanksgiving best friends theme about our pet pals. So here we go. The big finish. A Florida man saves his puppy from the jaws of death. And we're not talking about Donald Trump.
Oh, come on, that's a little alligator.
What? That is not little.
Listen, I'd be fighting that alligator too. If my Cuban palm was in the mouth of that alligator, I would be there fighting it.
Look at the little puppy, and he just runs away.
And the puppy leaves. The puppy's like, peace.
Yeah.
Did you notice how he didn't drop his cigar not once?
Not today. Not today. You get to that's Florida, but that's not Miami. I'm from Miami, and we will not fight alligators for a dog. I love my dog.
What?
But sorry, puppy.
Wait, Jonathan. Would...
An alligator?
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm Miami right
that
here.
That alligator was 2.5 feet long.
Seriously, I have shoes
His
bigger than
arm is bigger than that alligator, and you wouldn't do it. That's shocking. You know, and when this news came out today, I didn't realize this. I'm a native Floridian, Sarasota. We have 1 million alligators in Florida. 1 million. A little known fact. Do you know the largest alligator ever recorded in Florida? How big?
How big?
17.5 feet.
Wow.
So that little puppy, he's lucky to be alive. And by the way, we didn't make any jokes at all that the guy kept his cigar in his mouth the entire time. There were so many jokes that we didn't tell.
Did you see the beer in his back pocket?
Well, it is the west coast of Florida after all. The big finish. Oh no, I did this one already. The big finish. A bulldog discovers the first signs of winter. I love this. Spoiler alert, he doesn't like it and he wants to move to Florida. Now this dog is seeing snow for the first time ever. And he's going, what is this crap?
So confused.
Listen, I took my Cuban palm to Tennessee and she reacted the same way. She would not go pee. She would not go and do her thing because she didn't like the cold in her booty.
Yeah, exactly. Like Butch would not want to get his paws wet. He could barely step on a wet grass. Like he would not do it.
Your dog's name is Butch. Jonathan. There are so many stereotypes in this show. I just can't even begin.
What am I supposed to do?
And mama's baby won't pee in the cold. I swear, I got to get a new gig. That's all there is to it. The big finish. This is my favorite story of the day. Giant rats the size of bunnies are overtaking New York Central Park.
I can't.
And I'm certainly hoping we have a slide here on this.
I don't understand what the problem is. I mean, rats have always been a part of New York. Like, I lived in New York for a very short time, and I think 3 rats were my best friend.
Well, you know, I think what's happening, I read this story and I saw some slide pictures or, you know, visual images of it. I think what's happening is in the year of COVID, there's a lot less people killing the rats and they're getting bigger and bigger. And literally they're being described as basically the same kind of size rats that run through Faye's living room.
No, don't even say that. That's so disgusting. Did you guys remember when they had a video of the rat taking the pizza down to the subway?
Yes,
Those are the kind of rats that they have in New York City, people, the size of small cats.
I don't know why we're shocked. This is totally normal.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they like pose for selfies. It's normal.
Yeah. I can't get over the fact that Jonathan may have a pet rat and he would call him Macho or something.
Macho
Probably
and
would.
Butch. Macho and Butch.
And Butch.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show. Is our community important to you?
Then help us by liking and subscribing, ring the bell for updates, share this news. We're the only television live video news that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
And I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of anchors Faye and John Casanas, before we say goodnight tonight, we want to show you a special interview that we have just completed about the Miami Book Fair Online and the LGBTQA+ author series going on right now. Super interesting. Watch this.